What are your thoughts on the market right now? What are you seeing?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, slow, which is expected, I guess, with what's going on right now. I was a little shocked on how fast the inventory caught up, but when I started looking back on it like a couple weeks ago, I went and looked back at like previous years and compared this to previous years. It's pretty normal for previous year inventory, and the only thing that's off is the pricing. And I think, generally speaking, my thought is that a lot of people rushing, sellers especially rushing this spring to try to get stuff on the market, thinking that they've missed the peak, which they did. And you get a huge influx of inventory, and that's kind of where we're sitting at right now. And most of what I've seen, even though there have been price reductions, I still feel like the pricing on a lot of these places is still maybe higher than is justified. And, going to have to come down a little bit before the buyers are willing to get off of the sidelines and pay that top dollar plus a 7% interest rate. So, I think we're still in a stalemate, if I'm being honest. I don't think we're out of this yet.
Interesting. Ian, what are you thinking?
I like that word stalemate. I think I agree with that pretty wholeheartedly. What I'm noticing is that, especially when you look at new builds, for example, people are getting really creative with, and have been for a few weeks now, maybe even a few months, with financing options, with giving design options, with trying to work with you to get things accomplished. And we've seen price reductions. We've seen all of these things, and it's still not accelerating to the point where people are satisfied, where the builders or sellers are satisfied. So I think stalemate is just the most appropriate word for it.
Well, speaking of, I mean, we've been watching prices go out of control really since January, right? We started the year at 550 was our median. We ended last year at 555. So, Kevin, what you're saying is usually at this time of year, we see a dip in the market anyway.
Sure.
Which, if you look at the blue line here represents 2021 and the green line 2019. I took off 2020 just because it's such a crazy year. I hate even just using that as a metric. But if you look at the last half of the year here, we're coming up on a time when prices drop. My concern here is something I'm about to show us, and I want to get your feedback on this. So we're at 633 as of July is the median. This is for the Austin area. We have a ways to go from 633 to hit 550 where we start seeing negative numbers, right? 550 starts putting us year over year negative. I want to get your thoughts on this because this is what I'm tracking for the Austin numbers for August numbers. Is this right here. I'm showing prices are finally selling below list price. This is 99.2% of list price. That's what this is saying right here. The median list price was $599. The median sale price was $595. Now, keep in mind, my numbers, when I do these numbers, are always off from the people that do the actual accounting of this. But what I found interesting is that we're at 982 closed in the Austin area for last month, which is actually, whenever they do these numbers, should potentially be higher than the previous month. The previous month, July's numbers, I'd have to pull it, but I think it was like 930. So we actually had more sales, and according to this, in fact, what I pulled last time, we're still showing more sales. But they're probably going to, when they do these numbers, they're probably going to take off about 30 of these. And I imagine they're probably going to be at 590, maybe 585 is what they say. So you're going to see a lot of people talk about we are at 633. And if we end at 595, I mean, that's not a very big year over year gain. And how much further does it go? Do we end up going below 550? What are your thoughts?
I think when you look at this, we're not accounting for days on market yet in these numbers. And I think that's where it's going to start taking a toll when you're looking at August, September, October numbers. Because as the homes are sitting more, that's when people start feeling the pressure to either not list it as high or start decreasing the price. And that's what we've been seeing happening. And we're at the top of that bell curve, right?
Yeah, I mean, here's a prime example. what we're seeing is, if you look at this withdrawn, am I still on the screen? I am. Okay. 276 withdrawals. Remember back in the day when I got into real estate, 2015, well, if I saw 276 withdrawals per week, I was calling every single one. 45 expireds and 159 that are just on hold.
That's a big deal.
That's a pretty big deal, but only in the last 7 days, only 739 closings. It seems like a decent amount, but the pending amount is about 1,000. No, less than 1,000.
Well, and it's also, so the back on market's a factor, right? Because think about how many contracts fell out. That has to come out of our numbers as well. So decreases, that number went up, 500 from last week? It's like 1,500 last week, something like that.
And if we look at, and so this is the thing that I think a lot of people, or something we've talked about quite a bit, especially on this channel, is this right here. We're at 10,000, almost 10,800 units on the market. Now that's new build, that's everything, but that's a lot. That's a big jump from 1,700 when we were complaining about it at the beginning of this year.
Yeah. I mean, like, I've been looking at this data the last couple of weeks, trying to understand. I saw this guy on Twitter, like these guys on Twitter, YouTube, they're all trying to, Chicken Little this thing. Sky's falling, everything's falling apart. But then the more I started looking into it, I did some of that data. I'll send you the stuff I was working on too, Jeremy. Like, I think the important ratio is the absorption rate. So like how many homes are getting absorbed off relative to the homes that are coming onto the market or that are active. So ratios that I like to look at are relative, are homes going pending at the same rate that they were previously, or generally at the same level that they were previously. And they have been going pending at similar numbers that they were previous years. Like 2019 is what the last time I checked. So 2019 and right now are very similar in terms of the number of homes going pending and homes closing. So that's a decent data point. Of course, that doesn't take into account that we're now at a lot more active listings than when I checked this data last time, which at the time I checked this last time, the number of active listings was only like 9,000. So that's going to change the ratios a little bit. But the point of the pricing, which I think is the key for me, is I'm talking to people about, like, talking them down off this ledge currently. Like, this is this rubber band that was stretched really, really far, and it's snapping back and coming in the other direction really, really fast. So I think it's going to snap back in the other direction and come back. But the pricing, unless you bought a house like since January of 2021, you're still, like you were talking about, Jeremy, you're still in equity. Like, you're not in a dangerous position of not being able to sell your home and get out of that mortgage and have it foreclosed on. The people that maybe bought last year at some inflated prices, if they're trying to sell right now, I think that they're going to struggle because they're not seeing the same thing. But even if you bought in 2020, I still believe that you have equity in your house, regardless of how much this softens for at least the next few months until the economy figures out what it's doing.
Thanks for watching this short of the Real Amigos podcast. For more live streams, hit here. For more clips, hit here. We'll catch you on the next one.